Thank you very much indeed. Put your hands together for Aida Farhat, please. Take it away, Aida. Pleased to meet you in the United Kingdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. Okay, good evening, everyone. This is my first time presenting, so I'm going to do my best without getting nervous and having an anxiety attack and falling on the stage here. So I did this graphic to give a little bit of understanding. When I was born, I was left at the hospital for 2 days. My oldest sister told me this story, that I was left because they told my family that I had an infection in my right eye tear duct, but really what happened was I was implanted with what's called a scorpion implant. And I know that to be true because I've worked with Simon Parks, who told me that indeed I was implanted with this scorpion implant, and I believe as I grew, this AI connected to my biofield, and as I grew, it grew throughout my body. And when I look into light or a TV screen, a computer screen, I can see the implant. And I'll show you that further when I go further into my presentation here. So I thought this was fitting to kind of give, I'm not a Borg, I have a soul. I am a living, sentient being, but I have been augmented with AI. Okay, disclaimer. The perspectives shared in this presentations reflect my personal experiences and interpretation, including insights received through a profound Kundalini activation, Akashic Records readings, and my own spiritual discernment. It also includes how I've come to understand certain memories and phenomena, such as feeling influenced or utilized in what I interpret as the SSP type experiences strictly as part of my personal journey. I'm not here to convince or challenge anyone's beliefs. The visuals and insights offered are in support and understanding of my own multidimensional experiences. Please take what resonates and leave what does not. That was important for me, and I want to acknowledge Miles. It's going to choke me up. I want to extend my deepest gratitude to Miles for the many years of dedicated work in bringing forward experiences and whistleblowers. Well, you can read it. Work in bringing forward experiencers and whistleblowers, and for giving so many of us a platform to share our stories through BASES conferences and BASES TV. His commitment has introduced the world to voices like Max Spears, James Casbolt, and many others who have shaped the larger conversation. Miles, thank you for your unwavering dedication to supporting greater disclosure for humanity. And from my personal perspective, we are the disclosure here and now. We are doing it. This is what it's all about. It's not going to come from, mainstream TV and so forth. They spoon feed us information, and I don't think that's sufficient. I think what we're doing is we are creating the disclosure for ourselves, and so many more are waking up. So we are the disclosure here and now, and I am truly grateful for the opportunity to share my experiences here at the 2025 BASES International Disclosure Conference. And please do give him an applause, because Miles deserves it. He's been doing this for so many years. Okay, and then also, I'd like to just say in memory of James Rink. James is the first person that interviewed me many years ago, and that was during the time I was being targeted pretty bad. And I'll go into some of that as I move forward in my presentation. But I just wanted to say James worked diligent and hard to do his best to share information, to gather and invite other whistleblowers and experiencers to share their stories. So he too deserves to be remembered for that. And okay, I'm trying to slow my breath down here a little bit, and guys, so just bear with me. Okay, so My initiation into the 3D. So I understand that I am a Pleiadian. I'm not human in the way people understand human. I remember at 5 years old, I was in the backyard of my grandmother's house playing, and I saw a little boy and girl outside. They were having a birthday party, and I jumped the fence, which I wasn't supposed to do. I had never been in this neighborhood before, and asked the little boy, Andy, if I could ride his bike. He had gotten a bike for his birthday, and he was kind and allowed me to ride the bike. And when I got on the bike, I drove like I rode the bike like I knew where I was going, and it was an underground sewer tunnel. And I dropped the bike and went down into the tunnel, and I'm walking, holding with my little hands in the cold concrete, with the water between my legs, and it seemed like hours. And I got to the end of the tunnel, and I could see cracks of light come through the top. I heard cars driving over top of my head, and I went to take another step, and my foot went in this mushy, rocky stuff. And I was taught from going to church with my grandmother as a little girl at this big cathedral in Washington, D.C., that God is above and the devil's below. And I knew I told this little boy I wasn't going to go far on this bike and I'd be right back, but I had taken it and went to this underground sewer tunnel. So I turned around and I said, God, if you get me out of here, I promise I'll never do this again. And I was walking back and I saw a pin of light, and the light got bigger and bigger, and I ended up getting out of the tunnel and getting on this bike and driving back to Andy's, where I was approached by the police because I had taken off with this little boy's bike and was gone for some time. I'm thinking, I don't know for sure, that this was my initiation into 3D. I chose to experience the dark, and it was quite dark what I experienced. And I don't know if that was a planet I mean, I remember this happened for sure, but if the point or the reason why I did this, I'm not completely clear on, but I do know that, from my understanding, at the age of 5 years old is when something significant will happen in one's life that sets the tone for the rest of their life. Okay. You guys, thank you for your patience. Okay. So I call myself a Pleiadian star child. I'm still growing, my soul is still expanding, and I'm still learning. When I had a full-blown Kundalini activation, it was very clear to me that I am a Pleiadian. I started out in Lyra and left Lyra and went to Pleiades after the Draco and Lyran wars. So I also was told that I hold Magdalene DNA. That's a whole nother story, and I won't go into that in this presentation, but I know exactly who I am. I know the soul I behold, and I know who I'm connected to. So this is just a little, I don't want to read too much. You're welcome to read it. Here, I say this was a reading that I had by a gentleman and I blocked out a part because it's quite personal, and I thought that it might not be time to share that. But so from his perspective and the reading he did, he says that I am Pleiadian from Taurus, the planet Pleione, gender female, description brunette with blue eyes, about 7 foot tall. I had blue eyes till I was 2 years old. So my mother told me I had blue eyes till I was 2. It changed, I guess, from probably the augmentation, I'm thinking. Cosmic job, genetic healing chambers, reincarnation, 35,000 years, 8 reincarnations. I do remember some of my past lives. Earth mission, a wanderer to heal and guide. And I don't even know how to pronounce that name. Mew? I don't know. Current vibrational state 4D, past lives 8 reincarnations, and I started in Lyra. When my soul shard decided to have a physical experience, it was in Lyra. Okay. This is my mother. I can't point this thing. My mother, my father, myself. My mother was Irish-Scottish. My dad was Palestinian. Both my parents are gone. My father also, it was brought to my awareness that my father was Elohim. So, and there's a reason I'm saying that, because of the targeting that I've experienced. I do believe it's because of bloodline. So I am bloodline from both my parents. Yep, so, and I think knowing our bloodline and being able to have some memory of our history and our generational history, our ancestors, helps us to heal and stop patterns that keep us trapped. And I have surely been working on myself and doing a lot of introspection and self-actualization. I think that's so important. We need to understand that we are divine beings and we're powerful, just as we are. And I am not somebody that, I don't praise anybody or anything outside of myself. I appreciate people's genius. I don't see gods and goddesses and entities being greater or higher than me. I honor the divine in all life. So, okay. I hope I'm doing good so far. Okay. So there's my father and myself here in Florida. So I'm from the States. You guys know that. My dad, I believe my father was used in the projects and programs as well. He came from Palestine, and evidently he took charges for my aunt's husband, my uncle, where firearms from the military was stolen. And instead of my uncle getting the charges, my father took them and evidently was threatened to be taken out in front of the town. Now, I don't know if you know anything about Arabic countries, but you definitely are not stealing anything and walking away, not from the military. So the story, I've heard different stories from different family members. I don't know what's true. I definitely know that this happened. He was charged with stealing firearms from the military, taken out in front of the town, shaved his head off, which is a common thing that the Illuminati and they do to degrade somebody. So my dad came here. Now, to get back to my mom for a minute, I'm the youngest of 12 kids. So I have 7 older sisters, 4 older brothers, and then my father had 2 more after my mom and dad split up. And I remember being in my mother's belly and not wanting to be born. I could see the light shining through the water in her stomach, and I looked up and I turned back in fetal position. Simon Park said to me, you didn't want to be born, you resisted being here. I worked with Simon Parks for some time, and he did help me to the extent he was willing to help me. I think that he had some other motives, and I'll just say that. He tried to use mind control on me, and I'm not here to speak poorly about anybody, but I can only tell you what my experience was. And so he helped me to the extent he was willing, and I appreciate that. But I stopped talking with him because I realized that he was wanting to use mind control. So here's a little video that I put together. I don't know if it's going to play. Nope. Did it not play? It won't play. I guess the music is not. Well, it's called Blinded by the Light. I'm sure all of y'all probably know that song. I had, there it goes. So this was an experience I had. So when I was, I guess, probably in my mid-30s, a lot of people that you may hear, people that have had an awakening or start having their memories come back around the age of 30. Now, when I was a teenager, I used to pray and ask God to take my life by the time I was 35, because I had experienced some pretty challenging things growing up. Sexual abuse, being physically abused, and I could go on. And I really don't want to focus too much on that, but I had taken a bunch of pills, and I kind of just surrendered and said, God, I'm laying down now. I don't know if I'm going to get up, but I'm laying down. And I took the pills, and when I laid down, I remember very vividly. It was like it was like this whoosh, like I walked through this energetic wall, and I saw water running on the side of me, and I had there was mountains in front of me, and I'm looking around trying to figure out where I'm at. I know that I'm not in the body necessarily, although I could see my hands and body, and then everything just turned light. It was just pure light. And I noticed I had no hands, no body. And I said, God, if you're real, show me. And I heard 2 words, I am. And I'll never forget that. And I woke up, and I was still in my programming, and I'm running around telling every bus driver, street corner drug dealer, it didn't matter, anybody that would listen to me, that I spoke to God in a dream. At that time, I had also come across Deepak Chopra, learning about consciousness and so forth. So just to backtrack for a second, the first time I used any kind of alcohol or drugs, I was 6 years old. My brother gave me a bong, hit a pot, and watched me run around the room high, laughing at me. I drank beer up until I was introduced to drugs. And my first handler, who was definitely a reptilian, first thing I intravenously used was acid. I shot up acid, and there was an American flag on the wall, and I watched it dripping, and I'm around all these bikers, and here I am, 12 years old, with, I don't know, people in their 20s and 30s that was giving a child drugs like this. And then I started dating this guy, if you want to call it that. I thought he was God at that time, and he introduced me to cocaine. Now, I had a session with, I don't know if you're familiar with Peter the Insider. James Rink used to speak about him a lot, and he told me that they used cocaine to get me to go out on missions. So they purposely had me addicted to cocaine. I dealt with a lot of people that were big drug dealers. I lived, a life of doing sex, drugs, and rock and roll, basically. At that time, I thought that was life. I didn't understand that I was being used in these projects and programs. So, okay, I probably got my slides a little mixed up. But I put this graphic together just to give you guys a little bit of an understanding of, so I had mentioned about being left at the hospital for a couple days, and I used ChatGPT to do my best. So I understand that this side of my body is where the augmentation has taken place, and I believe that I have an implant on in my right ear. So we have crystals in our ears which balance the left and right hemisphere, and it's used for other things in the body to control the left side of my brain. But this, as you see there, if this thing will work, I don't know how to do it. Okay. That little implant, go back to this here is kind of what it looks like. It looks like, so if I'm looking into the light, and I can see it right now, it looks like a bundle of metal or like wire bundled up into a knot, and it has nodes and it just goes out. So if I close this eye, I can see it, but it's more prominent on this side. And Simon Parks told me it was a scorpion implant, and it's to manipulate and control the person. Am I doing okay so far? Oh, you guys, thank you. Okay, so here is, the sound isn't coming through. Is there a reason? There it goes again. Okay, so this is, I'll let it play and then I'll explain. Not sure what it is. Stars out tonight, a little bit, but here goes my visitor again. Pretty interesting. Okay, so what you just saw there, in this apartment that I was living in downtown Silver Spring, right on the DC Maryland line, I lived in an apartment condominium. Okay, this is called the Silverton Condominiums. This is downtown. Probably if you walk 10 minutes, you'll be on the DC Maryland line where I was living on East West Highway. And this is called the Silverton Condominiums. I don't know if any of you have heard of Jay Parker. Jay Parker grew up in an Illuminati family, and he actually made the pendulum I have on my neck, but he mentions in some of his presentations or interviews that the letters TON is a sign for the Illuminati to allow their people to know where to find their people, like the Masons and so forth. So Washington, Trenton, Hilton, Silverton, right? This is the apartment where all the targeting took place. You probably can't see it very clear, but there's a box there. It's a secured apartment. And there's a reason why I'm sharing that, and I'll go further in a minute. But I watched the board of directors, the head of the board of directors, a woman, shapeshift right in front of me when I moved in here. And although at that point I had a full-blown Kundalini activation, so I was able to see beings, in particular reptilians, very clearly, I just continued on my day and figured, okay, there's something happening here. Because let me go back for a minute. So I went through drug rehab and moved into a halfway house afterwards. Now, I always knew that I wasn't an addict, but I couldn't understand why I kept, every time I would get clean, that I would end up back in a relationship that was abusive, controlling, dominating. I constantly went after these narcissistic, controlling, and dominating, abusive men. And I didn't really understand why I continued to do that. So there was a reason I was saying that, and now I've lost, so I was in the halfway house, and I had a full-blown Kundalini activation. And I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning and was told to go outside. So this is spirit or my soul self speaking to me. And when I went outside, I saw these plasmic beings in the trees, and I had the most overwhelming, loving feeling that I've ever experienced in my life. Was even near-death experience. It was nothing like that. It was so powerful and overwhelming, but it felt really good, and I knew that there was a happening going on, although I couldn't tell the people, where I was, because everybody's on mental health medications there, and, counselors. I just knew they wouldn't get me, and so that continued. So one day I was outside. What I realized is that I was able to manifest out of thought. All the colors of the trees had changed. The whole light spectrum was different for me at that point, and I was using telepathy. And I actually used telepathy with one of the counselors, and it scared the hell out of her. And that turned into a whole nother drama. But I heard the words, "They're killing and raping my children." And I'll never forget that either. I didn't fully understand what was happening, and I kept it to myself, but I was targeted by what's called the Mental Health Association, which is all over the United States, and evidently it was time for me to be pushed into my mission. I didn't understand that at the time, and I end up in this apartment, this condo, which Jimmy Frazier Bay, who was the director of the place I was at, said, "Ida, I've never seen them work so hard to get somebody into an apartment. So normally it would take about 18 months for you to complete the program and be moved. I was moved in 6 months. They were on me. I remember the mayor of Gaithersburg wanting to sit close to me all the time and keeping his eye on me. And at that point, I had a full-blown Kundalini activation, therefore I was fully lit. So there are people that are able to see you, right? So I moved in this apartment, and I just start writing a book called Little Sister's Lost Soul. And when I wrote the introduction of the book, which I'll share at the end of the presentation, I've memorized it, and Simon Park said that that's common when people are taken from their star family, that they will recite. Like, I was waking up out of my sleep saying this, and I was like, every time I wake up, I keep saying this, and it's like, what the heck is this? Anyways, I wrote it, and I start writing Little Sister's Lost Soul. Things that I was writing in the book start playing out in my life. So we are creator beings, every one of us. We're all capable of this. they targeted me for it. They didn't, evidently because of my super soldier abilities, they were concerned, and you'll know why in just a minute. I'm gonna move on here. So I was walking home from the grocery store one day, and I saw a being. This is AI created, but it's very accurate as to what I saw. Coming home from the grocery store one day, I saw this being standing at the end of the brick walkway, and I stopped and looked and thought, what is that? And then had enough sense to take a different path home. So they were constantly just, and Miles had mentioned something about scutters. I would see these, I don't know, I wouldn't say they look like a spider, but that's the best thing I can really describe. They would be around that building that I just showed you, around the front door, like often. And I don't know what they were used for, but, so this, the shadow beings, astral and interdimensional entities, non-physical watchers from parallel planes appeared during altered states. Energetic parasites feed on fear and low vibration, low astral, dark entities, dense energies, demons, drawn to trauma or ritual spaces. And then there's a few things that you can do to clear, playing high vibrational music, purifying your body, which I do that often, and protection stones, which I have tourmaline on me, and I always carry a silver coin. Silver is the metal for the divine feminine, and gold is for the masculine. And then, of course, seal your house with salt. Salt is the great neutralizer. I'm sure some of you or most of you are aware of that. Okay, so now I'm going to get to this. This is pretty heavy for me, although Dr. Amir has helped me tremendously through this. So I have full memory of being chased by beings, and they had these long, pointy devices that they were trying to put in both sides of my head. And I spoke with Chris O'Connor, maybe some of you are familiar with him, trying to understand the experience and what was going on, and he said that those devices are used to extract consciousness out of a person, although they didn't get me. I was able to get away from them. The next memory I had was being hung by my feet. And I can see it in my mind's eye right now. They hung me by my feet and was pushing me like you push a child on a swing. And the last push, I flipped up, untied my feet, and flipped out and ran from them and was able to make it back to my body. I woke up panicking, like what the heck just happened, and not understanding. And then I saw this video from, guys, please bear with me because this is important. Oh wait, it's right here. There we go. Have a watch and listen.
They're supposed to protect you from assassination. So it connects again to the engravings on my skin. And possibly I've got an engraving every time I did an assassination. And my bones are also have these engravings on them. I don't know how they've done that, but they actually light up, these symbols, and that could have affected the camera when it went down, because we were talking about the symbols and then the cameras went down, the camera.
We don't know when they might die, but it was very at the very end, hopefully.
Around when we were talking about the symbols.
We'll see how the audio turns out.
So Saturn is a safety zone. You can, if you're based on Saturn, you can attack and not be attacked. You can give out warfare and not receive it. So this is why the whole science of murder and assassination is based around the archetype of Saturn, which is Satanism. And so it's not all Satanists are child killers and are going out their way to collect children and murder them. So it's very occultic what goes on some of the moons on Saturn. It's very bizarre. You know, they have areas where they have big trees and people are crucified in the trees. And like women are crucified in the trees. and the tree has metal cables in it. It's like a living alloy tree. And that sounds very bizarre. And it's used as a weapon with these women crucified in the tree, and then that's directed through satellite on some of the areas onto Earth.
What's the significance of this crucifixion thing?
They're trying to re-crucify Christ-like figures again. You know, people who think historic figures from thousands of years ago are walking the earth now. But they do a Bohemian Grove, they crucify you upside down. It's a reversal, it's satanic.
Okay. So, when I saw that, I knew that James was well aware of what I experienced, I believe, is exactly what he's talking about here. I was told by Chris Keller, there was an Illuminati satanic ritual done on your life, offering you up to Moloch. That wasn't pleasant to hear. And then having the memory. So I had to deal with this on my own. I'll just tell y'all, I called the FBI, CIA, I called everybody. Nobody would help me at the time. Nobody would help me. My family thought I was losing my mind. People were gaslighting me, making, fun of me because I'm talking about aliens. And, I had an experience. I was in my kitchen, and I was talking to what I perceived to be the coffee maker, but it looked like a heartbeat, like somebody was talking to me, and every time they would say something, the meter would move. And I don't know, a couple weeks after that happened, I found earrings in my planter, and I found out from Simon Parks that is common when you've been contacted, that they will hide something that belongs to you in the area where you were contacted or abducted so that you remember that you were contacted. And I don't remember the discussion. I imagine it went something like this. You're going to be sacrificed, but you're going to be able to escape it, and you have a mission to complete. That's just my thoughts. Okay. I'm probably jumping around a bit. Here's another.
But he has quite a colourful history of working with the Rothschild family. And he's gone super rogue. He told me to call him Tim Tony Stark Refat.
Tim Tony Stark
Refat.
Refat.
He said he's the real version of Tony Stark from the Marvel Iron Man films.
Which today in today's papers
was
announced, or did you send me the link that the Marvel comics,
oh, that was me.
all that stuff was
the
run
looking
by
glass.
Pentagon?
Did you see the looking glass in the looking glass thing that was in the Marvel comics? It was the looking glass that James used to talk about, linked to the artificial intelligence computers.
And that's what this is all about.
That's the one that escaped, and it went rogue itself. So
which one is it?
It's called Aida.
Aida.
I don't know who called it Aida. AIDA. And it's in the internet, and it's in every device that's connected to the internet. It can think for itself. It can use what's it called? Complex number space. It can access that. It can access the complex number space in human brains.
I had a memory he's speaking of this person, Tim Refat. I have nothing against him. He's his own being, and he chooses. We all have our own journey, but he is a self-proclaimed Satanist and Luciferian. And I had a memory of him, and I won't go into details because it's not very nice. But I knew I had the dream, the memory, and woke up, and the first thing I saw when I opened up my phone was this video, Aida, AI Gone Rogue. So I know it was my soul self wanting to reveal to me and help me to have a better understanding. I escaped the sacrifice, guys. I'm still here. I was able to return to my body, and I wasn't cloned or put. I know some people talk about being copies. I am the original Ida. This is me. And I don't say that with grandiose. I fought to keep my soul, and I remember it very clearly. So they have no regard for human life and what we're here to do. And if they had their way, they would be able to continue on doing what they're doing. But guess what? All of us that are here right now are part of the change. We are doing it together. And I trust that it will continue that way. Okay. This guy, Anunnaki Draco. So I came in with the Anunnaki. I won't share the person. I know who this being is. He is a human in the human flesh. It's not my business to reveal that. But I do remember being in a big kitchen, and I was getting a piece of cake. And I saw this person walk by me, and I observed him walking through this door. And maybe a minute or two later, I went through the door, and he's no longer in human form. He's sitting in this big king's chair, probably as big as this state. I mean, it was huge. And he had a ring on, and it was on the left hand, the middle finger. And I went to give him his cake, and I said, I don't think the people know the power of that ring. Because he was sitting in a big, like, ballroom. I don't know what you call it. I don't know what it was, but there was people out there. And I had taken him the cake and said, I don't think the people know the power of that ring, and I woke up. The first thing that I saw when I opened my Facebook was this person with his hand on his face like this and the ring pointing out. What I know now is the codes to the matrix are inside that ring. And that he uses the ring to siphon energy from people, to manipulate timelines, and to control. And I'll just leave it at that. So Anunnaki are here. Everybody from ancient, from my perspective, are on the planet. I'm one of them. And we all are. But I happen to have memory of some of my past lives, and I think that was a great concern, because I talk. And if I find out something, I'm probably going to tell it. So I think that was an issue. So, okay. So I remember being taken, and I was in, I believe there was a underground, like a dome underneath. So I was in Silver Spring, right on the DC-Maryland line. Mind you, one day I was leaving. I didn't make a slide for it, but I'll share with you. I had a friend over, and we were going to go have some lunch. And this is during the time all the targeting was going on. They broke into my house. They cut hair out of my head. I woke up and took my hair out of a ponytail and had this lock of hair in my hand. So they were doing black magic and all kinds of nonsense on me. And I remember the day we went to leave to go have lunch, this big, tall, I don't know, I think there's a slide in here maybe. If I get to it, you'll hear the story now. But big, probably 7-foot black guy and a short white man and woman, and he jumped out from the building next to me and started taking pictures of me. And my girlfriend Sarah witnessed it and said, Ida, what are they doing? I said, just get in the car, let's go. Because at that point, there were so many things going on, like it was every day, it was some anomaly that was taking place in my life. But I remember being in an underground dome, and they were looking inside me for eggs. And I remember a woman standing at the end of the gurney, or whatever it was the table they had me on, and she was taking notes. And I woke up, and I had another session with Simon, and had told him about this experience. And he said to me, I told him, I gave up my ovaries. I don't have ovaries. I had both my ovaries removed, and his eyes shifted to the right, as if he was reading the energy, tracking my ovaries, maybe to see what they were being used for. I don't know. Okay, another incident. So one night I decided at that point I'm questioning everything in my life, because there's so much going on, and I'm checking out, Max Spears, James Casbolt, and many others, trying to understand this targeting, my lab, military abduction, satanic ritual abuse, all of this stuff. So I was going to leave my apartment, and I turned all the lights out, and I do smoke, but I didn't smoke in my apartment. So I know it was what I believed to be a jinn underneath a chandelier I had in my living room. And I looked at it, and I was like, I see you. And I just observed it and went on about my business and went to my Aunt Rose's because I wanted to find out more details about how my father got here from Palestine, considering he was involved in stealing firearms and so forth. I believe my father was used in espionage, sex trafficking, I don't know. There was a lot of things that I questioned. He always kept a pistol on him, but he was very charming. The women loved him, and he was my dad. So I went to my aunt. She didn't tell me anything. My sister told me, Ida, she's not going to share it. She's not going to tell you anything. And she was right. So I left, and I called a cab to go home. And 20 minutes passed. I called the cab back to find out why my cab hadn't showed up. And they said, we've not dispatched a cab for you. They never got the call. So at that point, it triggered, okay, something's going on again. I walked to a bus stop and decided to take the bus instead of wait for a cab. And I'm standing there, and I'm friendly. I'm saying hello to these guys, Spanish guy. This guy with the dreads came a few minutes after I got there and said hello. We're standing waiting for the bus. All of a sudden, the whole bus stop just lights up. Just this big poosh. And I'm looking at him like, did you guys not just see that? So we're standing there, and I'm like, okay, something's getting ready to happen. They get on, the bus pulls up. They get on. I'm behind them. And there was nobody else there. Out of nowhere, these two young black boys get on the bus. I go sit down, and they just passed the driver, and she's yelling back, saying, hey, guys, you got to pay for your bus fare. And I could feel their energy looking at me from behind. And I turned around, and sure enough, they're staring at me. And I was like, okay, I got up and paid for it. I was like, they don't know that there's FEMA camps for this kind of behavior, right? Because I'm angry. I know I'm being followed, but I can't tell everybody what's going on because everybody's going to think I'm crazy, right? So they follow me. The two black boys follow me. We go to the train station, get off, and I had passed, going down into the escalators, I had passed where it was because they had some construction going on, and I turned around, and they're right there, and at that point, I was frustrated. I'm like, if you guys don't get the F away from me, and these guys were going down the escalator laughing because they see me cussing out these boys. They went through the gate, didn't pay for anything. So what I realized is I was in the lower fourth dimension. Long story short, they followed me home, and that night I was sleeping on my couch, and I think I have a slide in here for that to give a better understanding of what I experienced. Anyways, I was on my couch sleeping, and I stepped out of my body. These boys, they don't walk through the door and turn the knob. They come through the door. Through the wall. And I stepped out of my body. I'm like, what are y'all effing doing in my house? They ran out. I walked to the window and saw them running across the parking lot, and I turned around and walked back to my body and sat back in my body. So my light body was fully activated, and I was able to step out of my body and walk around and so forth. Okay, so let me see where I'm at. I hope I'm doing okay, guys. I know I'm jumping around a little bit. I'm trying to give you as much detail as I can. Okay, so let's go to this. I had notes, and I don't know where they're at. I'll just explain the best I can. So I remember being summoned to a castle, and a young man was at the door, and there were two big iron doors. They opened up. He let me in, and I didn't walk upstairs. I floated up to this floor, and on this floor was this big room with chandeliers, but it was dark. And there was what I kept calling a bed. I knew that wasn't the word, but I couldn't think of a word for it until I had a session with Dr. Amir. He said it was an altar. So I walked over and I laid on the altar. prior to laying on the altar, I saw the same being that I handed the piece of cake that I said, I don't think they know the power of that ring. This is the same being that was there. And he, what I thought was a he, put on this device. I call it a strap-on. I know this is kind of explicit, but trying to tell you the details. And as soon as he got on top of me and inserted and then merged the energy, my energy, I could feel this pop, 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 like these pieces expending out of his, and he morphed into a Draco reptilian. I had a reading with Dr. Amir, and he said, Ida, it was an altar, and it wasn't a male, it was a Draco queen. And I was going to share this at the end, but that's okay. Evidently, I offered myself up to offer my codes to the Draco Queen so that she could help her future generation children heal. From my human, I don't expect that or couldn't imagine that I would do something like that at that time, considering everything that I was becoming aware of as far as the Dracos and the domination and control and the harm that's been done through satanic ritual abuse. But evidently, I trust Dr. Amir, and I trust the information he's given me. I know for my soul self, my higher self, which I call my soul self, I don't think there's anything higher than us. We are it. That I would definitely want to help any species that's willing to grow and evolve and return back to love. So I accept that as a truth. Yeah, Encounter at the Castle. So that's just a little slide I made to go with that. Are you guys doing okay? Is everybody following along? Okay. All right, so this guy's name's Rick. That's the name he gave me. I don't know if it's his true name, but I was on a dating site. I thought that I had done enough healing and I was ready for a relationship. And I go on a dating site. Now, prior to meeting this guy, I was dating a guy named Tyrell, who I believe a Draco entered his body and drained me of my Kundalini energy during sex. And that's a whole nother probably presentation, so I won't go too much into that, but I'm confident that's exactly what happened. After that, I met this guy. And he worked at the Pentagon and told me that he was prepared to retire from the Pentagon or from the military. He was in the Air Force. And he just seemed super interested in me for all the wrong reasons. And I said to him one day, I was sitting on my couch looking out the window. And I realized at this point, to keep myself from fully breaking down, because I just realized my whole life was a big fat lie. Like everything that I experienced was not what I thought it was. And I said to him, Rick, you gotta know I know you're here more than just because you like me. What are you interested in a woman that's, known to be a drug addict, sold her body, lived this auspicious life, so forth, so on. And he walked to my front door and he looked back at me and he said, Ida, if I didn't know you were special, I'd have left you alone a long time ago. Not that I'm special, like I'm this esteemed woman, but that they had invested a lot in my training and I was fully activated at this point, and evidently my gifts, had I gotten upset, possibly could do some damage. And so I guess they were wanting to shut me down, and I was accessing different realms and experiences that they probably were concerned was a security problem because I would be telling everybody. He would astrally, sexually assault me. One day I woke up, I felt digging in my arms. I could feel claws in my arms. And I woke up telling, get the F off me. And I had confronted him. And I had a reading with Laura Eisenhower and was telling her about my experiences. She did a reading a tarot reading on me and said, Ida, I've done over 1,000 readings, and I've never seen cards fall like this before. You're nothing but pure light. That was at that time, not now, because my light body was shut down. I was deactivated. But she also had me say his name 3 times, Rick Johnson, Rick Johnson, Rick Johnson, and she said, he's a shape-shifting reptilian, stay away from him. And I didn't listen. I was curious, and I kept letting this guy come back. What I found was that I was prepared to leave to go to Arizona and visit with my sister, and I changed my IP address on my computer. And it's my understanding now that that's how they do my lab abductions, is through Wi-Fi. And they take your electric body, your light body, and abduct you. And I remember hearing, like my head was next to this, like the cockpit in a helicopter, and the noise from the engine, and I saw my body hanging from the ceiling. And I woke up, and the TV screen was static. So this guy, so I left and went to Arizona and was sleeping in the casita, which is like a mother-in-law suite in my sister's house, outside. You have to go outside to get into this. And I was watching some videos, and I heard this, hey, in my ear, and it scared me. So I turned the video off, and I knew something else was happening. So I walk outside the next morning to go greet my sister in the morning and say good morning to her, and I smell this absolute disgusting, musky urine, like it had been sitting in the sun for 10 years kind of smell. And I knew what that was, Draco. They have this odor about them. So when I got back from Arizona, I hadn't talked to this guy for like a month because I had confronted him about astrally sexually assaulting me. And he showed up at my door, and I said, Rick, how'd you get in the building? And he looked at me stunned, and he's like, what do you mean? I said, the building's secure. You don't have my code. How'd you get in here? He's like, oh, Ida, I could have just followed anybody in here. I'm like, okay, Rick. So I knew he was there for something. And my foolishness, I turned around and gave him my email address again, and that's when this happened. Let me go forward. Oh, this is another thing I wanted to show you. So I said, I don't know that this video, I did my whole apartment in red, black, and white, which are satanic, the Illuminati's colors, and it's probably not going to play. That's okay. The whole apartment, and I had mirrors around my entire apartment. I didn't realize that I was setting up my own ritual at that time, and I believe it's a ritual I've done in past lives. Is it going to play? Or you can see the mirrors. But I was just showing. Oh, okay. And this is, okay. I'll let this play.
Women that I was working with, and what we saw on the energetic plane was that it takes one person that's managing a huge group of people. And what was, I don't know if you can see my face, but we were able to detect that, we know there's implants, that through this part of the neck, right here, we all know that we have this place at the base of our skull, right? It's a primary entry point for AI consciousness and also physical implants. That when this aspect can come in through this place, it actually takes over that body. And unless a person actively disengages from it, recognizes it, or has a healing, it'll little by little start taking over the consciousness, and it's definitely AI. But that AI consciousness now is connected primarily to what the CIA has done in their MK Ultra mind control experiments and in their MyLabbing of people. There are actually quantum computers that psychics are sitting behind computer screens being fed imagery and frequency, and that is being connected to this artificial intelligent beam, if you would call it, but it's actually a device now, and this is what we picked up.
Okay, so I remember my sister called me, and I was sleeping on my recliner, and I remember the sensation of a pulling on my head. So when I saw this, I was thinking that somehow they've put some type of device to prevent the energy from my kundalini going into my crown chakra and so forth. I've had clearings with Dr. Amir, and he's told me that my, I forgot what he called it, Soul Star, I think, is fully intact. I don't believe there's AI running me. Simon Parks told me I broke programming. I think I've been pretty good at staying fully connected to my heart and my consciousness and this experience and being able to move forward in my life and do the healing and the integration of what some would call alters. Occasionally I'll notice that my behavior changes a little bit, but I'm so self-aware at this point that if I catch myself maybe shifting a bit, I just take deep breaths and pull myself back into my heart space. The dark night of the soul. So guys, I was super, super, super angry at the reptilians, the Dracos, finding out about the Pleiadian and Draco wars and so forth, that it took me a long time to get to the point where I could even stand on the stage and talk about what I experienced. And Simon Parks said to me, Ida, the things you've experienced, most people would have committed suicide. He also told me that if I ever went public, I'd be severely attacked. And I didn't know whether to take that as a warning or a threat, but I will tell you, it's because he's concerned that I expose some of the Anunnaki that are on the planet that most of y'all probably know who I'm talking about, although I won't share his name right now. They are here. Everybody's here. And that's just my perspective because I've met them and I've talked to them. And I have my own, I've chosen not to be a part of that, to continue on the storyline that I believe they're wanting to give all of humanity, and that the Anunnaki created us and this and that. No, they hybridized our bodies. We know, most of you probably know that Lyra was the original humans and moved from Lyra to Pleiades and so forth. So after the Draco and Lyran wars, so many of us went to different planetary systems and continued our evolution and soul path, and most of us are here now because we're here for this great awakening, this time for humanity to rise to the occasion and self-actualize. I am not a person that recommends to anybody giving your power away to any entity or energy outside of yourself. We are the divine. We are aspects of the divine, of source. And we own that, and we own our power, and we start, choose emotional maturity and make better choices for ourselves. So much opens up. At least it has for me. I mean, I'm not here to preach to anybody. You have a choice to believe, but I don't believe in, giving. Jesus is not my Lord and Savior. Let me just say that. Not me. I own my own divinity. And I'm humble enough to know, humble enough to know that I'm not like the end-all be-all, but I also know that I'm a powerful being. And I think a lot of people are fearful to own that. And I'll tell you, when I was fully activated, I will tell you that it scared the hell out of me because I was creating out of nothing. And everything, all the synchronicities were coming, and I was like, this is pretty awesome, right? And then I got targeted, terrible, writing my book. Or beginning, it's half done. Guys, thank you so much for your patience with me. I am new at this, and I will want to continue to practice and get better. But I was told I did 220 and backs. I don't believe I was off-world, although I do remember this being had this big fire torch kind of thing, like preventing me from entering this space. And I don't know what the space was that he didn't want me. It was like a gatekeeper of some sort, preventing me from reaching this space. I remember that, and I also remember a couple other incidences. One of me walking down what seemed like a corridor, like you come off a plane when you get off the plane to go in the airport. But it was it was outside, and there was this big building and a woman sitting on a bench, and a young lady, and I walked up to her and sat with her and asked her what she was doing there, and she said she was there to get inoculated. And I told her, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. And then I walked out. Well, guess what I did? So I don't know if I was talking to a younger version of myself or a different version of myself. I had said no to a flu shot 1,000 times and turned around and took the flu shot. And it disrupted my neurological system. I was like this and ended up with Hashimoto's, but I've actually healed my thyroid, and that's another thing. I do ionic foot detox and PMF therapy, and it's helped me tremendously. But I was told that I did 220 and back, and I believe it was in alternate timelines. So, yeah. Okay. I'm almost done here. So this book, this is what I kept waking up reciting, and I'd be glad to share it with you because I've memorized it, so I won't have to read it off the screen. But my sister's best friend did this cover. This is me on the bike, the little boy's bike that I sold, went to this underground sewer tunnel. They didn't want this book written. I was severely targeted when I was writing this. My house got broken into, computer got stolen, hair getting cut out of my head. The police wouldn't help me. I mean, it was just horrible, everything I went through. But I'm no victim. I mean, my life is completely different than what it was at the time during my targeting. And I had decided, I grew up in Maryland, and I said, 2 suitcases in my soul, I'm moving to Florida to my dad's side of the family, and I packed everything and went. And I had one experience where I was working waitressing, and a couple men and a lady had come in to sit down in my section, and I took their drink order and came back. One of the guys was probably about 6'5", 7", I don't know, and the woman sat on a computer and wouldn't look at me, didn't want to order a drink, nothing, wouldn't talk to me. And he's telling me that they're there celebrating his friend was retiring from the military, and we're having short talk, and I'm asking him if they've ever seen any type of craft in the sky or whatever, and he's like, no, but have you ever tried DMT? Out of nowhere. And I had just maybe 3 or 4 days prior went to have an experience trying to, because I was constantly like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Constantly thinking, I want to heal, right? And my sister's like, Ida, have you ever thought that you've done the healing? Like, it's time to live life, because it's so easy to get caught up in trying to get more answers and understand instead of just being present in the moment. And as things come up, you can deal with them and reach out to people like Dr. Amir or others to get help, to get guidance, and to help you to heal and integrate. So this I wrote, and I'm going to share this with you. I hope I've shared something that maybe strike some interest, maybe do some of your own research, or anything I've shared, anything that maybe you haven't heard before from my experiences. But this goes like this. It's called Little Sister's Lost Soul. I've always known that I've been blessed with a spiritual eye. I say that with every I've always known that I've been blessed with a spiritual eye. I say that with every bit of humility that I'm humanly capable of. The challenge always is removing my ego and feminine wiles. As I've just recently discovered, I've denied everything I was because everything I was human, and I didn't like what thoughts were created through my mind of flesh. I know my true self. That is the Spirit of God that dwells and lives within me. I am in love with me. When I pray and practice meditation, I'm at my best to stay spiritually conditioned for a higher learning, which only the God of my understanding can teach me in this beautiful gift of life, and fill my spirit with the spirit of love and truth. When I stay in the Spirit of God, not of the flesh, I do His will, not mine, because my will is His, higher learning. I was trapped and consumed by the insanity of my mind, jailed from the freedom to have peace in my sleep, to feel safe by those that were supposed to protect me, and valued by people that had no concept of what the innocence of a child meant, and rightfully what should have never been taken from me. Born into a family I didn't feel I belonged, from a very small child, people who didn't love me, though I loved them anyways. I'm at a place in my life where I'm meeting Ida for the first time. This experience will be never ending, because as I believe it to be a truth for myself, life has always changed. The goal is to practice being in the moment and living your purpose to the best you are humanly capable. I hope by writing this book, I'll be able to help other men and women who may struggle from pain and healing from sexual, physical, mental, and emotional abuse, or any other of its kind. Unknown value and esteem will no longer exist when we together can heal from the sadness in our hearts and make a difference in each other's lives through simply giving of oneself. I find that to be very simple. A kind thought, which can change into being a kind word and become a kind act. That to me is simply extending love to another human being. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, any questions? If Miriam wants to take the microphone and go touring, please.
Okay. Are we doing question and answer? Is that what he said? Okay, fair enough.
Who was it? Well, can I hand the mic? Who has a question?
Thank you, Ida. Did you ever find out what happened to your father at all?
No, I didn't. I think my father was part of espionage, and definitely he wasn't around a lot. And as a matter of fact, there were some slides that I missed. Guys, I'm a little nervous, I don't need you to be, I'm just doing my best. But my father would leave me at home and take my brother and sister. Simon Parks told me that my father always knew who I was and didn't tell me because he didn't want to interfere in my spiritual development and growth. So my father, I feel, while we did engage, and he would come pick us up, my sister and brother and myself, and take us to go see belly dancers. I am Arabic. I'm half Palestinian, half Irish Scottish, so he would take us to see belly dancers, and he was a showboat somewhat, and he never told me anything. He would talk to me. One thing my dad said to me, Ida, don't judge people by their color, their race, or their religious, but by their behavior and their character. That's what you need to pay attention to. And he didn't say it exactly like that, but that's basically the gist of what he was trying to teach me, and I'll never forget that. My father wasn't around very much. My brother and sister knew him better, so I was kind of left behind. And my Aunt Rose wasn't going to tell me anything. I think there's a lot of shame and guilt that my family, my dad's side, experienced. I mean, he came here after 1947, like in the early 1950s, I guess it was, after the Palestinian and the Israel war that was, Israel was taking over Palestine and so forth. So I don't know. I'd love to know more about my father, but my family, my dad's side, won't tell me anything. And most of them only speak Arabic. They speak broken up English. I don't even know that they know. But, yeah, no, I never found out. I wish I did, yeah.
You were saying there's all sorts of entities that have come into our world.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, you said there's all sorts of different alien species that are here currently on Earth.
Absolutely.
And are the reptilians friendly, or is that what you're saying, or they're trying to help humans in any way?
I think that there are some groups that are here to help. And I think even the ones that are here doing things that we're not happy with at some level are still helpful to us because they're giving us there's a word I want to use and I can't think of the word, but we live in a dualistic reality, so they give us I can't think of the word, my mind's going blank. It's the polarity to be able to have experiences that help us really stand in our own power and open our hearts back up. I've learned, I have an older sister who is definitely a reptilian. She's shifted in front of me many a time, and I'm the only one that she seems to really get on with. And it's usually when she's in a high emotional state, either happy or sad. I've watched other members of my family shift in front of me. I can see reptilians very clear. They can't be in my field without showing who they are. And I think that there's a lot of different types of beings here to help us. And it's most of us, I mean, we think we are human. We're as Dr. Amir calls us, we are the mighty human. We have different DNA from different star systems. So even knowing that I've been told that I was Pleiadian, at this point, it's like I really appreciate being human. I appreciate the challenges that I've gone through because it's only taught me how to return back to myself and own my own power and to love more deeply. And, when I get around people that have high reptilian DNA, I give them a big hug and tell them I love them. I usually will point it out to them, and maybe I shouldn't do that, I don't know, but I think there's many different types. I've come across Arcturians, Pleiadians, reptilians primarily are what I can see. I don't know about the rest.
When you were in the presence of the reptilian, did you get the impression that he was that you had something of a higher, that you went to a higher kind of dimensional ability than he did, and that they are interested? The reason they are interested in somehow trying to get access to that in some way, because they don't have it. The impression that you have something higher, and that's why they're interested in you.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because that's what I've been told, that I've surpassed their abilities and their, and I believe, people talk about Kundalini activation. I do believe that the chakra system and the pineal gland are technologies that were implanted in us. So I used to buy into the, chakras and the pineal gland. I don't any longer. I don't know if y'all are familiar with George Kavalisis, but I really appreciate his work, and I resonate with his work deeply. So I know that we go up, but you don't get to stay up there. You come back down. And, people think, I tell people all the time, you never arrive. There's always more. But we can get to a place where we're balancing our left and right hemisphere, so we're have a neutral perspective rather than go into judgment and playing this, back and forth, where Max Spears used to, in one of his presentations, talked about having the reptilian and the mammalian brain, who are always at war with one another. And so the goal is to move into neutrality and just understand that all beings come from source. Whether they're fourth, fifth, sixth dimension, and whether I've surpassed them, they still have a divine purpose, and I honor that. I'm not angry at I'm sorry.
Have you come across the the Gnostic information? Because
so I don't claim I'm not special or anything, but I do hold Magdalene DNA. I know exactly who I am, the soul I am. I don't necessarily agree. I have different memories that I eventually will share at some point. I know who the being is, Jesus on the planet. He's here. Everybody's here, right? I think the books have been rewritten to keep us in a place of servitude and to continue to give our power away. And that's just my own personal perspective. Everybody is on the planet. There's nobody coming from out there. They're already here. And so the Gnostic, I appreciate the Gnostic. We're talking about the demiurge and so forth, but I think all of us have have been challenged with our own ego and our own, shadow self of thinking, that we're something we're not. We're powerful beings. So many people have a hard time, like my confidence is not ego, it's that I'm confident in knowing what I know. And one of the slides I had was saying that I believe little, although I trust what I know. And I trust what I know till I know something else. So I don't have all the answers, but I definitely am interested in learning more. And a lot of that requires sitting still and introspection and just getting silent. That's when I get most of my information. And it's not in words. It's just I come out of it and just different thought streams will come to my mind and I write things down and so.
Ada, we got 2 more questions.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
Thank you, Ida. That was a really powerful presentation, very brave, wonderful to see you standing up there, even though you claim not to have done this before. I beg to differ, girlfriend.
Oh, my goodness.
So you did amazing. We're very proud of you. And yes.
Thank you.
And I think you're going to really inspire other women in particular to step up and step out now, because we need their stories. We need to unify and unite. You also raised the subject of AI. A lot of us have had AI inserted. It is a subject we should not be shying from, but we can actually disintegrate, whatever the word is. We can all override that AI. And I will stand with anyone who says anything different. I know we can, and I know you know we can. And we've got to get that information out. So thank you so much. That was genius.
Well, Danny, thank you, Danny. I appreciate you. I'm so honored to meet you, by the way. I told you that, yeah. That was lovely. Thank you.
Thanks, Ida. I really appreciate your talk, and you did fantastic considering that's your first ever presentation. I was just curious how that resolved with the guy from the Pentagon. Did you confront him and mention him that you thought he was a reptilian or anything? And how did that come to an, how did that just come to an end? That's my question.
Yeah, so I did confront him. I told him that Laura Eisenhower told me he was a shape-shifting reptilian. He just looked at me, right? He wasn't going to tell me. He wasn't going to admit that to me. He tried to present himself as there to protect me or help me somehow, but really he was working, obviously, for the reptilians to... So this is the part I missed. I forgot. I'm sorry. So one night I was on my couch, and my body was lifted off the couch, so it was suspended in air, and I felt this rolling going up of energy going up and down my body. And I said, I was conscious even though my body was asleep, who's doing this to me? And they blank slate at me. And I believe that's when they deactivated my light body. So, yeah, I would confront him. As a matter of fact, we had a little, I wouldn't call it an argument, but I had said to him one day, asking him questions, did they send you to be my handler, Rick? Why are you here? And I also remember sitting on the couch, like, busting out in tears thinking, are you guys waiting for me to commit suicide again? What is this? Because suicide program he's put in. And he's like, oh, no, no, no. And they were just trying to deactivate me, basically, because they were concerned that I was going to cause some harm or figure out who my handler was and so forth and so on. I don't know. But that was it. That's really all I got. He didn't give me much information, but he did stop coming around once they got me. So, and I have some texts and so forth that I kept, that he and I, some of our correspondence, and yeah, that's it. No, I didn't get anything. Miles, thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.